There were moments when Vanessa found herself willing to sacrifice everything in the world just to keep Alex by her side, forever close. "Is there truly nothing that can be done to change this?" she asked her beloved, her voice tinged with desperation. "What do you mean?" Alex responded, his tone weary, as though the very act of speaking was an effort too great. The weight of their embraces always left him feeling drained, as if the tenderness they shared sapped him of his strength, leaving him almost unable to process her words, let alone respond. "I mean that you're about to leave again," Vanessa said with a hint of petulance in her voice. "Back to that house where no one loves you, no one values you, and no one is waiting for you. But I am. I'm always waiting for you, always loving you. Yet every single time, like clockwork, at exactly 9, you gather your things and go back there." There was the place he called home, where Alex had a family, a wife and a daughter who, as he often confided to Vanessa, no longer needed him. "I often feel like just another piece of furniture in that house," he would say to Vanessa, while she would sigh deeply and look at him as though he were a deity, a being she revered with all her heart. How could anyone fail to notice him? He was so remarkable, so captivating. "Why do you stay there, then?" Vanessa would ask, her voice edged with frustration. "Leave. Move in with me. We're so happy together." "I would, with all my heart," Alex would reply, his tone sincere yet burdened. "But I have a sense of duty. My father always taught me that you must take responsibility for those close to you. I have a family. I have to be there no matter what." Vanessa often felt hurt by Alex's words. They had been together for nearly a year now, and for almost a year Vanessa had endured this emotional torment. In the beginning, everything was vivid and beautiful, filled with the excitement of new love. But as time passed, Vanessa began to feel a deep, painful attachment to Alex. Every time he left her, a wave of loneliness and longing washed over her, leaving her feeling empty. The weekends became dull, void of the warmth and comfort Vanessa so desperately craved. She longed for the cozy embrace of a family, a place where she belonged. Their paths had crossed online. Vanessa had just broken up with her boyfriend when a friend suggested she distract herself by meeting someone new from the internet. "I'm not even over my last relationship," Vanessa protested, but her friend persisted. "I'm not telling you to get married. Just meet up, have coffee, go to a restaurant a couple of times. You'll finally get over your ex," her friend encouraged. And so, Vanessa took a leap of faith. She spent a few weeks exploring, only to conclude that dating sites weren't for her. Just as she was about to delete her profile, Alex reached out to her. He didn't hide the truth about his marital status, and at that time, it didn't matter much to Vanessa. After all, she was just looking to enjoy herself, so what did it matter whether her company was married or single? They met. They started talking. At first, it was purely platonic, just two people getting to know each other. But with each encounter, they discovered how much they had in common. There was also a growing mutual attraction, something neither of them wished to conceal. Vanessa, who had always steered clear of relationships with married men, found herself breaking her own rules. She fell deeply in love, a love so intense that she began to crave Alex's presence in her life constantly. He became as essential to her as the air she breathed. Gradually, Vanessa started to press the idea that it would be wonderful if Alex left his wife and moved in with her. Even though Alex had a 10-year-old daughter, Vanessa wasn't deterred. She persisted, trying to convince Alex that his true happiness lay with her, that only by her side could he find the joy he sought. "Not now," he would reply every time. Vanessa gazed at Alex with a sense of deep disappointment, realizing that the more time passed, the harder it would be to let him go. He rarely spoke of his family, but from his few words it was clear that his wife no longer loved him, and his own feelings for her had long since faded. The only bond that still tied them together was their daughter. Everything changed when Vanessa discovered she was pregnant. Staring at the test with 2 pink lines, she felt a mix of elation and intense anxiety. What if Alex wasn't happy? What if he didn't want this child? But Alex wasn't against it, though he didn't exactly show much enthusiasm either. "This timing is terrible," he muttered. Vanessa's first instinct was to feel hurt, but she quickly brushed that aside. Even if Alex refused to be part of the child's life, she would still go through with the pregnancy. This baby, not yet born, was a symbol of their love. Vanessa was in her 30s, and this felt like a precious gift from fate. A week later, Alex appeared at her door, his expression somber, with his belongings in tow. "You got what you wanted," he said, his voice heavy with resignation. "I've left my wife. I don't want my child to grow up without a father." Vanessa was over the moon with joy. She showered Alex with kisses, wrapped her arms around him, and shouted gleeful words while he winced at her exuberance, pretending that everything was unfolding exactly as it should. 2 months later, he finalized his divorce. It was then that Vanessa saw his wife for the first time. She was short, plump, with dark hair, nothing like the woman Vanessa had imagined. How could anyone love someone like that? A dull, gray mouse who had done nothing more than give Alex a daughter and use that as a chain to bind him. In contrast, Vanessa felt beautiful and unique, even with her growing belly. "Why did you come to the courthouse?" Alex grumbled, displeased, when he saw Vanessa standing beside his car. "I came to get you," she replied matter-of-factly. "What's wrong with that? We're not strangers to each other." Alex softened, got into the car, and tucked the divorce papers into a folder. Vanessa didn't ask him what would happen next. Would Alex propose to her? Would they become husband and wife? Was there even any point in hoping for that? She was simply content. For now, with the fact that her beloved was by her side, he was willing to embrace their child, to take on the role of a father, and to stay with her. But things didn't turn out as simple or as rosy as Vanessa had imagined in her fantasies. Every weekend, Alex would leave to spend time with his daughter, showing little regard for the feelings of the mother of his future child. He spoke nothing of marriage, and the money he provided was minimal, just enough to cover groceries and the bare essentials. "Listen, do you really need a man like this?" Vanessa's friend asked her, concern evident in her voice. "A man with baggage, problems, and no desire to make things official." "We live together," Vanessa protested. "How could it be more serious than that?" "He's just a burden around your neck," her friend retorted. "He only just got divorced," Vanessa countered, trying to defend him. But deep down, Vanessa longed for Alex to propose. Every day she hoped for the moment when he would take that step, yet he showed no urgency in making her his wife. In the spring, their son Harry was born. Vanessa, exhausted but proud to have given Alex a son, anticipated that this would be the turning point. She expected Alex to finally take decisive action, but instead he grew more distant, rarely coming home. There was always an excuse. His mother was ill, he was visiting his daughter, or he was overwhelmed with work. Vanessa's frustration grew, and she began to voice her dissatisfaction. To this, Alex simply replied, "If you don't like it, don't put up with it. I can leave, you know." Vanessa would fall silent, but in the solitude of the night, worn out from the cries of the baby, she would cry herself to sleep, regretting the day she had let this man into her life and her home. As Harry grew, nearing his 4th month, Vanessa stumbled upon something unsettling in Alex's phone, conversations that sent a chill down her spine. The list of women was endless. Emma, Shelley, Angelica, Chloe, and more. Names she couldn't even remember. Alex had continued to engage with numerous women on the same dating site where they had first met. "Why did you take my phone?" Alex's sudden question made Vanessa flinch. She looked up at him, her heart pounding, and then, with all the strength she could muster, she said, "Leave." "Where would I go?" he asked, laughing softly, as if the situation amused him. "Are you jealous of girls I just chat with? There's nothing serious there, just some harmless fun." "Not enough fun at home." Vanessa's voice trembled with the tears she was holding back. "You have a son. Why don't you have fun with him? Take him for a walk. Give him a bath. Take him to the clinic." "Don't sulk." Alex's tone softened, and he gazed into Vanessa's eyes with a feigned tenderness. "You wouldn't deprive your son of his father over some innocent texts, would you?" Vanessa wept, cursing herself for being so forgiving. But a few days later, she made a bold decision. She went to Alex's former home, the address she had discreetly noted from his passport, where he once lived with his wife and daughter. Vanessa waited outside the building for a long time, gently rocking the stroller to soothe her child. Her heart raced as she saw the very woman she had dreaded meeting, Alex's ex-wife. She was no longer the plump figure Vanessa had imagined, but rather a quite charming woman, confidently making her way from her car to the entrance. "Excuse me, are you Sarah?" Vanessa asked, her voice trembling with shame. Sarah glanced at her, seemingly recognizing the woman her husband had left her for. "Let's say I am. Why are you here? And why did you bring the child? Has something happened to Alex?" Vanessa bit her lip, struggling to hold back tears, and then asked, "Did he cheat on you for a long time? Did he leave you for me? Or had he left before?" Sarah looked at Vanessa with a mixture of confusion and amusement before suddenly bursting into laughter. "Leave? He never left. I threw him out, and now he's crawled over to you, it seems. But from what I gather, he's already lined up his next victim, hasn't he?" "Victim?" Vanessa repeated, staring at Sarah in disbelief. "Why do you call her a victim?" That's just what I call them," Sarah replied nonchalantly. "The girls he chats with online. We met on the internet years ago, too. About 2 years ago, I found photos of other women on his phone. You're not the only one. Believe me, he has many options. Alex has a weakness. He loves women, all of them. And I call all his flings victims. I put up with it for years until I finally threw him out. And then you came along with your pregnancy, offering him a helping hand just in time." "I love him," Vanessa said, almost involuntarily. "Of course you do," Sarah nodded, her voice dripping with irony. "Everyone loves him, and he loves everyone. Just listen to those words. They even sound ridiculous." Sarah hurried inside her home, leaving Vanessa standing alone with the stroller. After a few moments of stillness, Vanessa, feeling a surge of clarity, turned towards her car. How naive she had been. She had woven a grand narrative of love in her mind, convincing herself that she was the only one for Alex, that no one could ever compare. But now, it was as if a veil had been lifted from her eyes. That evening, when Alex returned to Vanessa's house, he was met with a stark reality. His bags were neatly packed and left on the landing outside her door. The locks had been changed. Vanessa, determined to avoid the emotional turmoil of a confrontation, had left town for a few days, seeking refuge at a friend's place. She turned off her phone, needing time to collect herself, to adjust to the idea of a new life, a life without Alex, a life free from deception, false hopes, and broken dreams. As the days turned into weeks, Vanessa found a surprising strength she never knew she had. The distance from Alex allowed her to rediscover herself, her own desires, and the future she wanted to build for her son. She returned home not with a heart heavy with loss, but with a newfound sense of purpose. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, Alex appeared at her door. He was a shadow of the man she once knew, his confidence replaced by uncertainty. With a hesitant smile, he tried to step back into her life, offering promises of change, of a future together. But Vanessa, standing tall and resolute, met his gaze with unwavering eyes. "I loved you," she said, her voice calm and steady. "But I love myself more now, and I won't settle for anything less than I deserve." She closed the door, not just on Alex, but on the chapter of her life that had been defined by his lies and betrayals. As she walked back into her home, a sense of peace washed over her. For the first time in a long time, Vanessa felt whole. She had reclaimed her story, and in doing so, had opened the door to a future filled with hope, strength, and the promise of true happiness. One that she would write on her own terms,